Hello and welcome back. Today we're talking about one of my favorite topics and one of the most essential things that you need to understand when it comes to converting rich and ready to buy clients. When it comes to those $1 million clients that you want to call in and work with and have buy your offers, even if they are evergreen offers, even if they are offers with no access to you, and even if they are full price with no urgency creators or 12,000 bonuses, this lesson is pivotal in your understanding of what actually contributes to creating conversion versus what doesn't. So we're going to go ahead and get started, and I am going to go ahead and share my screen. Now, this is all about the most essential part of the buying process. When it comes to conversion, 9 times out of 10, 99% of the time, the women that I work with don't actually understand. And I would argue, even the bro marketers, especially the bro marketers, don't actually understand this, which is what actually makes rich, dreamy clients buy. If I were to ask you this question right now, what do you believe is the reason that rich premium $1 million clients actually buy and the person they buy from? What is the number one indicator and reason that they would buy from you or her? Why do they buy from that person, maybe instead of you? Because I can almost guarantee that whatever it is that you just came up with, whether it be brand imagery, which contributes to this, it's a different conversation, whether it be you're like, oh, it's because she has been around longer, that she is louder, she's more performative on social media. The reason why they would hire her over me is what reason? And whatever your answer was, I guarantee that it was that not what I'm about to share with you today, which is there is a belief gap. If your $1 million client is buying from her, them, instead of you, it is as simple as closing the current belief gap. And the way that you do that is through one of the most essential parts of the Freedom Funnel, which is trust stacking assets. Now, this goes for your organic social media content, but especially in a funnel, the difference between funnels that convert like wildfire and those that do not is that most people will close the belief gap or try and close it through force using urgency creators, performance, hypiness, massive momentum drivers. You'll close the belief gap by constantly launching a new offer, by constantly showing up 24/7 on social media. And actually, if you use the correct trust stacking assets in the way that I'm going to teach you, you will close the belief gap without needing to do more. So by the end of this particular lesson, you are going to understand why clarity and performance do not equal conversion, regardless of what your mind tells you. When we say that messaging is key, messaging that closes the belief gap is actually more important than messaging that communicates clarity. Clear messaging, yes, but belief gap closing messaging. We're going to also, or I am going to, show you how to identify your intellectual property, that's what IP stands for, and the frameworks, methodologies, blueprints, systems that make your work proprietary. Now, this is the most important part of what you do. Because in a sea of the sameness online, if you can master what I'm going to share with you inside this lesson, you will already be further ahead than 99% of people in your niche. What's more important than simply identifying likely what you already have named, you've likely already identified in the way that you teach, coach, educate, etc., proprietary frameworks, systems, methodologies, unique ways that you do things. But what I'm going to teach you today is not just about actually what you've already identified, but how to position said framework, methodology, system as a belief and trust stacking asset. You're going to walk away today with the roadmap to name, anchor, and implement your frameworks inside of your freedom funnel so that we can start creating conversion without pressure. Understanding this is essential before you start thinking about what your low ticket tasters should be, your ideal client magnets, and where all of your offers go. Because if we can understand how to close the belief gap by ensuring that your messaging is correct and your positioning is correct before you build your funnel, you will absolutely experience higher levels of conversion. And honestly, the real reason that your work is not, you're brilliant, you're here, you're exceptional at what you do. The reason that it's not converting rich buyers at speed, you're already experiencing conversion, but maybe not of quite the right people and not quite as thick and fast as you desire, without more of you, without hype or urgency, is that you actually just haven't got the trust assets that close that belief gap and stack trust for you. Now, I want you to start by identifying the belief gap. So you have been often told that clarity in your messaging is what creates sales, right? If your premium buyers understand what the offer is and what it does for them, that they'll buy. Now, of course, I believe that and I teach that. That's why in the previous lessons, we've talked about internal buying triggers. But what we're covering today is a further amplification of how you sell to the body of $1 million client rather than just to logic. We need to sell both to mind and to body in order to create speed of conversion. The reality is that the belief gap is twofold. In your messaging and in your funnel, because the messaging goes inside the funnel. So whether you're organically doing this as a strategy, which if you're smart, you will also implement in your content, or whether you're putting this into your funnel, what you need to consider is the fact that there are two parts to the belief gap. Trust is belief. When your $1 million client trusts themselves and you close the belief gap. Now, we're not talking to somebody who needs convincing that what you're selling or what they desire is possible for them. They know that it's possible. Their belief gap is around, I see the evidence of other people experiencing the things that I want, but there are micro friction points for them around, yeah, but. Oh, but Leanne has incredible brand visuals, but Leanne looks like that, but Leanne talks like that, but Leanne is a business coach and I'm a healer, but Leanne, fill in the fucking blank. I'm giving you an example of my $1 million client, but your $1 million client has tiny little belief friction points in, I know that it's possible because I see people experiencing it, but is it possible for me? Where I am at now? Is it possible for me because of those little tiny friction points? I'm not a business coach. I don't look like that. I don't sound like that. I don't do XYZ. I've not been around as long as her. Fill in the blanks. Now, the other piece of it is, do they believe that your offer, regardless of what that offer is the only choice? In order to close the belief gap, your $1 million client must find the evidence that what they want is absolutely possible for them. And the way that you do that is through the messaging that we're going to talk about, and that you are the only solution for them. Now, they buy because they believe that what they want is possible for them and that you are the only solution. This is the belief gap. That's it. Two components. Let me give you an analogy. If you are shopping for a new face serum, you're looking for a new face serum, a product, you find brand A. It's beautiful. It has luxurious packaging. It also comes with a very long-winded explanation about peptides, hyaluronic acid, vitamin infusions, the way that there's different barriers of your skin work, and how it conquers each barrier. Very complex, clear, but long-winded, very heavily focused on the process and the way that it works on your cells. You're very intrigued. It's beautiful. You're intrigued, but you still have a belief gap, which shows up as a little bit of buying friction and skepticism. Looks a little bit too good to be true. Looks a little bit like sounds good, but something's not fully landing for me around the evidence that actually that's going to do what I want it to do for my skin. It's a lot about the process and the peptides and the hyaluronic acid and the vitamin infusions. And I'm like, I don't know which part of that my skin actually needs. You're intrigued. It's beautiful, but you're skeptical. There is buying friction. There is a belief gap. Brand B shows up with just two things: a 30-second time lapse of a customer whose skin mirrors your current problem, high value problem. Let's say it's dark spots, and their signature glow up formula. You watch the day 1 to day 30 time lapse as those dark spots, dark circles, whatever, start to fade, and their glow increases, their wrinkles soften, and they don't tell you about the process of the peptides and the hyaluronic acid or the science. They don't give you the science. They tell you about the glow up formula, and then most importantly, they show you the glow up formula in a really simple trust stacking asset in the form of a 1 to 30 day time lapse. Bing, 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 bing. That also mirrors your skin type, so you find yourself in their example. Who do you buy from? The beautiful, luxurious packaging brand with the long-winded scientific explanation and no evidence, or the second one? Where are you telling yourself that the more beautiful brand, the more beautiful this gets selected, the more scientific the approach, the more long-winded the explanation? Where do you believe that explaining and clarity is what currently creates conversion, that beautiful branding creates conversion, versus this? Many of you will believe that the reason my brand creates high-level conversion is because of the way my brand imagery looks, my brand videos, the way I look. I call bullshit. Because guess what? I hit $1 million year without the brand visuals I have now. 30 pounds heavier, with a newborn baby on my boob and a breast pump in my bra 23 hours of the day that the baby wasn't on my boob. The reason that I create the success, of course, my brand visuals completely reflect and mirror who I am, their expression, but it's not the reason. You could remove all of my beautiful branding and I would still know how I could build any brand from scratch using these strategies, and I would create insane levels of conversion, regardless of the niche, regardless of being a business coach, doesn't matter. This is the reason that I've been able to show women from every different industry, every different aesthetic that there is, how to do the same things. Who are you buying from? Evidence trumps explanation every single time. And most of you think that just by sharing client wins that you're sharing evidence. You are. We're going to talk about that, how in your freedom funnel we use evidence to close the belief gap and trust stack. It's actually not about sharing the testimonial. It's how you position the testimonial. Belief is trust. If I don't believe you, I don't trust you. If I don't believe that is possible for me because of XYZ, I don't trust that it's possible for me. Belief is trust. And without belief, aka trust, through strong emotional proof, body, beyond logic, because their mind, your $1 million client's mind, is always going to come up with the fear, with the reason why not, with the but how, with the objection. When we sell through evidence and not explanation, we sell to the body and we convert at speed because we build trust at speed. How often have you seen and observed people in the online space and they're saying all the right things, they're explaining, they're performing, they are showing up in a certain way. Maybe it looks like A and the beautiful box, the luxurious packaging, the long-winded explanations, the lots of showing up, and yet you still, something about you is like, there's something not quite right. They're saying all the right things, and yet something's not quite right. There's your body, and your body will never fucking lie to you. Even if you override it and you invest anyway and you regret it later, your body will never lie to you. Your body will create evidence. Your mind needs explanation. But the explanation will never dissolve the buying friction that is found in the body. Evidence will dissolve both. This closes the trust gap. And this is what your freedom funnel is designed to deliver for you on your behalf without your face. This is honestly one of the most pivotal things that you will learn inside this program. And once you understand this and you integrate this into your freedom funnel and even into your content and how you're currently selling, watch your sales explode. Now, clearer messaging, not the key to converting. So the misbelief versus reality. I just need to be clearer in my messaging. Great. This person told me I need to be clearer, I need to niche down, need to be clearer. But clarity does not equal conversion. And let me show you why that's true. You can find, I've worked with so many people who have very high growth, huge accounts. TikTok is a really good example of this. You can go super niche, super narrow, create massively high growth audiences, a virality, high growth, incredibly low conversion. Clear is explanation. Clear is, yes, important. We don't want to confuse people, but just being clearer will not create conversion. It can create growth of your audience, but not conversion. Maybe I just need to say it better. This is where you start to be like, I need to do more photo shoots. I need to perform more. I need to be like her. I need to do this. You start focusing in on performance, which actually is persuasion. If you do anything in your brand, whether it be an Instagram live, a piece of content, whether it be the brand shoots that you're doing, and you're trying to perform rather than actually close the belief gap, rather than communicate who you are, and the truth of who you are, and you're doing it from persuasion. If I just look more boss baby, people will buy. If I look more perfect, if I perform more, people will believe that I am the one. They won't. It will feel like exactly what it is. Persuasion. Car salesman. In better packaging. Oh, my audience just doesn't get it yet. They just don't quite get it. Is it that they don't get it, or is it that they actually don't believe? They don't trust. Your rich buyers don't need more explanation. They don't need performance. They don't need hype. They need to see that it works, and they need to feel that it's real for them. They need to see that your work works, and they need to feel that it's real for them. The end. And that trust is created in part, but a big part, by your unique signature frameworks. And I'm not just talking about these big frameworks that you all want to focus on, like a freedom funnel. Yes, but it's done in more micro ways around this is about unique insight, starts to feel more anchored and concrete when you wrap it around your unique signature frameworks, methodologies, blueprints. So this is why your frameworks are your fastest path to trust stacking. Your signature frameworks and methodology are more than just a way to communicate your brilliance and protect your intellectual property, because if you name them, you can protect them more. They are also your fastest trust stacking asset and an authority anchor, because they instantly make your work feel proven, premium, personalized, and proprietary, aka people hear freedom funnels and they think about me. People hear she makes bank and they think about me. People hear internal buying triggers and they think about me. People hear low ticket taster and they think about me. This is where, when you're naming your unique methodology, frameworks, blueprints, systems, formulas, you immediately feel more proven, because it feels like something people can anchor into. That's why we call them like trust anchors. They're like, oh, I can anchor into that. This is like rock climbing. It's like, can I anchor into that? Otherwise, I'm not going to go. I'm going to find something else I can anchor into. And if it's not there, I'm going back down. I'm going a different way. I'm going to hire somebody else. Makes them feel proven. It makes it feel elevated and premium when you name it. It makes it feel personalized when done correctly to the $1 million buyer. And it makes it feel proprietary, owned by you, synonymous with you. So that when people hear a word or a phrase, they're like, I think of Leanne. Rich Queen, Leanne. Freedom Funnels, Leanne. She makes bank, Leanne. There are so many, when they're even to the point where people see people using she, whatever, they think about me. They're like, oh, she got that from She Makes Bank. It's so interesting how this happens. Now, the reason why your frameworks are the fastest path to trust is because they make your process feel like the only path to the result that $1 million client wants when done correctly. They create belief, aka trust, that faster than 1,000 explanation posts ever will. It also anchors to what I taught you in the previous lesson around becoming a category of one. This is one of the fastest ways to convert skeptical browsers into premium buyers without pushing them in with urgency, bonuses, proximity, another new offer, fake FOMO. When I say skeptical browsers, I mean rich buyers are discerning around where they invest their money. They're allowed to be skeptical. They can afford to be skeptical. They're not looking for anything, anyone. They actually have questions. And if you're able to dissolve their body's questions, that's when you'll receive the I'm in. That's when you'll see the payments from people whose names you've never seen before, when you didn't even talk about that offer today. So this is the fastest pathway to trust. Now, what I want you to do is to work with Leanne AI and with yourself, obviously, but Leanne AI is a great partner in this exercise in order to extract and name your invisible frameworks, your unique methodologies. So the prompts I want to give you are, what are the 3 to 5 repeatable steps or tools that you use to get your $1 million clients results, even if you haven't named them yet? So some of you here will have already named certain processes, framework, systems, methodology. Others of you are actually subconsciously using framework, systems, methods that are unique to you that you haven't actually given a name to yet. So many of you, especially, and it doesn't matter what niche, but especially if you're in a more non-tangible niche, healing, more emotional work, if you're in more of the internal work versus the external result, this is really, really important because many of you will tell me all of these vast array of steps that you take people through. And actually what you would be much better off doing is simply naming that process, naming that framework. You're like, actually, I always take people through this, this, and this when it comes to this topic. Great. What's the framework behind that? What do clients always say to you? Like, oh my God, I've never heard it explained like that before. When I started to think about what my frameworks and unique methodology was, I started to think about how I taught messaging, sales, and offers. And it suddenly became really aware to me that like, oh yeah, because I get it now. And like when I teach offers, I talk about how like don't build offers in a client journey way, like early on, middle of the road, high proximity is like more advanced. You actually should, everything in your offer suite should be for that $1 million client. It was so simple, it was such a simple shift that people were like, oh, a low ticket taster rather than a low ticket offer. Oh, that makes so much sense. When it came to funnels, I knew I couldn't describe it just as a funnel. I was like, you are your sales system, build funnels. But then it became obvious. It was like, oh, they're freedom funnels. They're not just any funnels, they're feminine freedom funnels. When I think about you being your sales system and I'm like, build an invisible sales system that works harder without you, it became really clear to me that like, oh, these are things that I just naturally teach people. My content frameworks are conversion content frameworks. I'm like, these are the frameworks that immediately convert, instant conversion, instant authority. The minute I started giving terminology and naming things, all of a sudden it became so much more concrete for people to anchor into in a way that it was clear, but also in a way that it sold to the evidence of the process. So what do clients always tell you? Like, I've never heard anyone talk about that this way. What's the invisible shift that you create that brings the highest result with the least amount of effort? when I started to understand how do I teach how my brain naturally works around messaging, I had to think about the commonalities of what I always looked for and changed in people's messaging. I was like, oh, because they're talking about this rather than this. Like, oh, I always look for these things. So when you start to extract what the commonalities are in your work, often you're just so close to your genius, it's hard for you to extract this. But this is something that you can riff with Liana I about. And I've got prompts attached to this lesson and toward the end around helping you to extract the process that you naturally use to help your clients create the high value experiences and results that they desire, and ask you questions until you see the full picture. This is a great prompt. Getting her to ask you questions is really, really powerful. Now, a reminder, Liana I is going to give you brainstorm with her potential names. Remember, it's not down to her to tell you. Like, she's going to tell you a bunch of stuff. Some of it might land, some of it might not. It might be a hybrid of two names that she gave you, but also ensure that you're not infringing on anybody else's intellectual property by doing a trademark research. Make sure that you are finding things that are proprietary to you and not things that other people have trademarked, just so you can really become known and hopefully then protect them with intellectual property in the form of copyright and trademarking, and that you're not stepping on somebody else's toes and then going to have to rebrand. Now, it can be difficult because you'll be like, well, there's a lot of things in the online space that people use. And there's a reality around the fact that there's a lot of things that you actually just cannot trademark. Some of the names that we create, they can't be trademarked because they're too common of a phrase, or they're linked to certain words that you just can't use, right? Like Reels is owned by Instagram. So if you called something about like growth reels, you can't trademark that. But this is where you're going to really play and brainstorm, but also be the founder and CEO that you are, and ensure that you do your due diligence around legality checking. Now, naming your framework is one of the most important parts. Identifying it is stage one, but then naming the framework is very important, because if it doesn't have a name, it won't get remembered. And if it doesn't have a name, you'll find yourself explaining the process rather than giving your $1 million client an anchor point to anchor into. One of the biggest formulas, if you will, around naming that I can give you is taking a familiar concept, your unique disruptive twist, disruptive lens, which we've identified in the previous lesson, combined with your $1 million client's highest value micro experiences that they want. So 9 times out of 10, those of you that have named your frameworks, you've named it in relation to what you identify it as and what you want to call it, versus in a way that is going to land in the body of your $1 million client. And this is where you cannot be emotionally attached. Many of you name things around what it stands for to you. Let me give you an example, a great example. My LLC is called Grow Coaching Solutions. When I started my company, I was like, growing real opportunities for women. Super cute, right? Cute, clever, rather than clear. I would have to explain to you what that acronym stands for you to understand it and be like, oh, that's nice. I can see what you did there. That's clever. Clever doesn't sell. Clear sells, but only in a way where they care about it. It's got to be clear to you, clear to them, but also clear that it's in alignment with your $1 million client's highest value desired micro experiences that they want. So to give you some examples, concept versus framework name. Sales system, commonly taught familiar concept. Framework name, freedom funnel. Very clear what that is, but also very resonant with a disruptive twist on a commonly taught topic and aligned to my $1 million client. Content, $1 million messaging, my $1 million messaging frameworks. Commonly taught topic and concept, disruptive twist, not super disruptive, semi-disruptive twist, $1 million client, high value experience driven. Buying psychology, internal buying triggers. Very good example of familiar concept, disruptive twist, $1 million client desired high value experience. Ideal client. $1 million client, rich buyer. Now, the reason why I wanted to give you really specific examples, especially here, is here you can see where, here's one where it's like, meh, like content, $1 million messaging frameworks. Okay. Again, it doesn't have to be like there are certain ones where you're going to be like Freedom Funnel. Oh my God, I love this. Internal buying triggers, so good. $1 million client, rich buyer. I use those two interchangeably. Both are synonymous with me. But this one in particular, I really shifted away from the commonly taught topic, disruptive twist, because people would be like, wait, you only talk to clients that have millions of dollars? $1 million client desired high value experience. These ones are really curiosity driven. This is very clear. And so it doesn't need any explanation. However, they all tick the box of talking about a familiar concept, a disruptive twist, and $1 million client high value experience driven. The disruptive twist is not necessarily here for $1 million messaging. That's not that disruptive, but I want you to go through this formula and really start to think about those unique, specific things that you're like, wow, that is a commonly taught topic. I do it differently. It's also super aligned with the $1 million client high value experience that they want. Now, again, there are Liana AI prompts underneath this video to help you extract all of this and all the different ways that you're going to be able to extract this. But this is incredibly important to make sure that when you're feeding Liana AI prompts, be like, I want to talk about the familiar concepts that I teach on, the disruptive twists that I have. Again, we identified these in your authority anchors, and your $1 million client's most desired, highest value micro specific experiences that they want. Not just result, remember, but high value experiences that they want. Now, you're going to extract these frameworks and understand, again, signature methodology, framework, systems, blueprints. It's not just a nice to have in terms of your funnel, in terms of your messaging. It's the fastest way of pulling the lever of conversion. Now, what I'm going to teach you to do inside of Freedom Funnels is how to use your signature frameworks, methodologies, etc. throughout your entire Freedom Funnel in order to stack that body trust, close the belief gap. You are going to use it everywhere, them, not just one. Remember, I have multiple and so will you, but you've got to extract them piece by piece. But you're going to use them everywhere inside the funnel. You're going to introduce it very early on. That's why inside Freedom Funnels, I walk you through the rich buyer sales psychology that activates their internal buying triggers and converts them without you needing to perform fake FOMO, urgency, hype. You're then going to repeat it everywhere, them everywhere. For some programs, it's going to be more around one thing. Maybe your low ticket tasters, we're going to come on to that. But in your bigger programs, it might be that there's multiple of them and we're going to incorporate them into your funnel emails, low ticket taster, launch content, podcast interviews. You're going to want to repeat these things everywhere so you really become known. Now, we're going to talk about them from different angles, but repeat, the only thing that we repeat is the naming. You need to talk about it like it's the standard. Everybody else teaches X, I teach Y, because it actually works. You've got to create brand resonance with these frameworks by naming them and repeating them. Now, what's really important that you're not just repeat content. It's not the same thing said the same way 100 times. It's actually the same thing said different ways, changing the angles, which is what we do inside your Freedom Funnel. So your advanced authority anchors, building on the previous lesson, trust stacking asset and what it does for you. So your signature framework creates credibility and memorability. Your unique methodologies behind that make your path feel like the only way. So when you have a signature framework, you will create credibility, instant credibility, because it's a signature framework, and instant memorability. People will remember Freedom Funnel, She Makes Bank. They remember things. They're going to anchor into that. Unique methodology makes your path feel like the only way. So your signature framework might be Freedom Funnel. Your freedom, for me, is my Freedom Funnel. It creates credibility and memorability. My unique methodology around rich buyer, $1 million client, internal buying triggers, around invisible sales systems, makes my path feel like the only way. Trust stacking assets. Reframed common strategy positions your lens as smarter. Most people teach you this, but actually you should be doing this, and here's why. Most people teach you to make low ticket offers for low ticket people, high ticket offers for your most advanced people. You should be making every offer in your offer flow for only your $1 million client so they can come in and instantly convert into all of your spaces. It's the reason why people buy up here and they don't convert. Or the people buying this offer are the wrong people that you would rather die than work with in your high ticket spaces. Reframing a commonly taught strategy and topic positions your lens as smarter, which helps to anchor you as a category of one. Evidence-based messaging builds belief through results. Now we're going to come on to how you do this. Again, the skincare example, I'm going to show you how you position your results. You don't just share results of yourself, of your clients, but you actually position them as evidence-based messaging, which is going to close the belief gap. And your micro-specific content around these unique insights that you have, these micro topics, is going to speak directly to high intent buyers because they care about the micro, not the macro result. So this is building on what I've already shown you. So when I talk about trust stacking assets, I want you to start to see how we're going to do this. And your unique frameworks and naming them, they go from being something intangible to being a trust stacking asset. Okay, so this is incredibly important. Now, homework prompts for you. What is the one signature framework when it comes to the pillar of your work that you want to be known for? So likely you've already started to really extract your authority anchors. And I want you to start to extract those little frameworks from what you're doing, but you've got to start somewhere. So start with your different topics. Let's talk about freedom funnels. I'm going to start there. What do you want to be known for? Let's start to extract your framework. What transformation does it create? What does it solve differently to what's done already out there? What would it sound like as a branded method or framework? Where can I now incorporate it into my funnel? Now, again, there are Leanne AI prompts underneath this video, but as a reminder, when I say framework, it can be method, framework, blueprint, formula, system. There are lots of words that are interchangeable that still work. You don't have to call everything a framework. It can be a method, a blueprint, a formula, a system, and it also, as per my examples, doesn't have to include any of those words. For example, buying psychology, internal buying triggers. There's none of those words are used there, but it's given a name that is the framework. So don't trip yourself up over thinking it has to have the name framework or method in the name of it. Now, how to use these prompts with Leanne AI, please just choose one category at a time. Don't try and cover everything all at once. I would go micro. So for me, I would look at messaging, offers, and sales system. Whatever your kind of pillars of your work are, I would start there. You can upload and paste, as in copy and paste the transcripts of your best performing content around those topics. Coaching transcripts, I would very strongly advise that you take like a particular coaching call and take the transcript. You can use apps like Descript if you've only got the video to create an actual written transcript. I would not upload documents, etc. into Leanne AI. I would copy and paste transcripts. And remember, less is more. So less content pieces, but your highest performing content pieces that talk about a particular topic. Less coaching transcripts, but a couple of particular calls where maybe you've walked $1 million clients through a process that you've not named yet, and you want help extracting what that framework or process is. Or voice to text riff with your favorite clients and feed that into Leanne AI. What are your favorite parts of your work? What are the things that we've done, the tools and the anchor points that have moved the needle the most? Avoid uploading full course libraries. Take particular lessons, take particular moments that represent your zone of excellence. More is not more with Leanne AI. You need to make sure you give her less. One lesson and even the transcript from a particular part of that lesson would be more powerful than just the whole thing. Use the matching Leanne AI category prompts to extract your frameworks and allow yourself to try these on and test them. I often test my unique methodology and frameworks with Leanne AI on social media first. So the internal buying triggers is a really good example of that came to me in a client conversation. I then started to bring that conversation forward into Instagram. I saw the way people responded to it, and then I started to speak to it as a signature framework. So allow yourself to test and try on different vocabulary and different namings to see what lands for you and to see also what lands for your $1 million client. And of course, we will cover what parts of your unique methods, frameworks, etc. to share in each offer. For example, what do I share in a low ticket taster so that I don't deliver too much of my unique framework? Where do I put these trust stacking assets within the freedom funnel? Where do I talk about this? How do I talk about this? Fear not. Of course, we're going to talk about this inside freedom funnels. So right now, all I want you to focus on is your extraction of your unique frameworks and methodologies, not where does it go? What do I teach where? This is going to anchor your authority, and most importantly, it's going to close the belief gap for your $1 million client around your work being the only solution. The prompts are below this video. I can't wait to hear what comes up for you from this, and I will see you in the next lesson.